There's so many video game adaptations coming out nowadays, and it's all very exciting, but there's one specific video game I think would be absolutely perfect for a live action movie, and that is Hotline Miami. If you're unfamiliar with Hotline Miami, it's set in the 80s in Miami, and it's about a terrorist group of ultra-nationalists called 50 Blessings that mysteriously hires people to kill the Russian mafia by leaving messages on their phone. The first game follows a few different people that work for 50 Blessings, but we mainly follow a blonde kid with the Letterman coat nicknamed Jacket by the fans. Jacket is a silent protagonist, but that doesn't stop him from being one of the most interesting fictional characters I've ever seen. Jacket is ex-military, schizophrenic, and extremely violent, which is exactly why 50 Blessings views him as their greatest asset. Jacket works for 50 Blessings because during the Cold War, the Russians bombed San Francisco, killing Jacket's best friend and former army mate, Beard, so he joins as a way to avenge Beard. He also joins 50 Blessings simply because he likes hurting other people, which is a common theme throughout both games. Jacket works for 50 Blessings for quite a while, until he discovers the Russians holding a girl hostage who he rescues and takes home. For my theoretical movie, that'd be the perfect place to start. We get to open the movie immediately with an action sequence, throwing the audience straight into the movie, and then when Jacket rescues the girl, final card. As we see in the games, not everyone who works for 50 Blessings agrees with their methods. Some are even blackmailed into working for them. Which brings me to our second main character, Richter. Richter sports a green jacket, a rat mask, and a silenced Uzi as his preferred weapon. We see in the second game that Richter starts working for 50 Blessings because he needs the money in order to take care of his mother, who is bedridden. The movie should swap between Jacket and Richter's perspective, showing they're the exact same and they both have someone they care about, making the audience sympathize with both characters. We'll get to spend the first act getting to know Jacket and his girlfriend and see their relationship develop, and we'll get to see Richter trying to take care of his mother as her condition worsens, which will make the plot twist even more shocking when 50 Blessings orders Richter to kill Jacket for disobeying them. Remember how I said not everyone agrees with their methods? Well, dear viewer, I give you main character number 3, Biker. Biker is a mysterious character who sports a motorcycle gear, a cleaver, and throwing knives. Biker starts working for 50 Blessings out of pure boredom because, once again, he enjoys hurting other people. However, Biker quickly starts disobeying 50 Blessings and wants to figure out who is behind the messages. 50 Blessings realizes that Biker's onto them, so they send Jacket to kill him. Biker and Jacket duke it out, but Jacket ultimately spares him because he realizes Biker is being controlled by 50 Blessings just like him. And as you can probably guess, 50 Blessings does not like this. They realize that things are getting out of hand, so they send Richter to kill Jacket for disobeying them. When Jacket gets home from a job, he finds his girlfriend dead in the bathroom and Richter sitting on his couch waiting for him. Richter makes a comment about wanting to get this over with, so he shoots Jacket seemingly in the head. We then see Jacket wake up from a coma and he escapes the hospital and goes home to see it as a crime scene now. He finds out that the police have taken Richter custody, so he breaks into the police station, killing every single police officer just to get to Richter. When he finally gets to him, Richter confesses that 50 Blessings blackmailed him into doing it against his will, so Jacket decides to spare his life. Jacket finds a file at the police station that says the police were tracking where the phone calls were coming from, and they wrote down an address. Jacket arrives at the location, which turns out to be a nightclub, and instead of finding 50 Blessings' base of operations, he finds the leader of the Russian mafia, so he decides to just say fuck it and finish the job. When Jacket finishes the job, he realizes that the police have surrounded the building. He goes to a nearby balcony, smokes one last cigarette, allows himself to be arrested. In the second game, while this is all going down, we see Richter sent to prison. During a huge prison lockdown, he manages to escape. While on the run, he takes his mother and flees Miami, going to Hawaii. I think in this theoretical movie, I would show that right after Jacket finds the file in the police station and it cuts to Richter in the jail cell, switching POVs. We then see him flee and everything, and then the movie cuts back to Jacket finishing off the Russians, and that's how the movie ends with him being arrested. It's not specifically clear when this happens in the timeline, but after Biker's encounter with Jacket, he finds one of 50 Blessings' base of operations, an underground bunker underneath the same nightclub where Jacket killed the Russian leader. Biker finds 2 men down in the bunker disguised as janitors who have been in the background spying on all of their killers they've hired. I think it'd be sick to hide them throughout the movie in the background and see if anyone in the audience notices. That way when you get to this theoretical post-credit scene, it's not completely out of nowhere. Biker interrogates the janitors but basically gets no useful information out of them. He deduces excuses that they did all of this because of politics, which disappoints / disgusts Biker, so he kills them and flees the scene. And I think it'd be a perfect end credit scene because it would leave the viewers a bit confused, also curious as to the real reason 50 Blessings is doing this and what their ultimate goal could be, leaving room for a possible sequel that adapts Hotline Miami 2. You could also have a little box in the room filled with animal masks from the game as a cool little Easter egg, and have Biker just kind of look through all the masks. I have 3 main movies that I think this hypothetical movie could take inspiration from, one of which is literally the movie that inspired Hotline Miami, Drive. The movie has a very similar concept of this nameless, borderline silent protagonist who falls in love with a girl and her kid and goes to the end of the earth to protect them. Throughout the entire movie, the driver is pretty emotionless except when he's around the girl and the kid. I think this Hotline Miami movie should take inspiration from Drive in the character / emotional connections type of way. I don't think Jacket should have no dialogue, he should talk, but he should be intentionally very emotionless and quiet, and then all the yapping in the movie can go to Richter and Biker since they are pretty loud and talkative in the games. Just like Drive, when the driver starts killing people and showing genuine emotion, we can see that with Jacket when his girlfriend dies and he massacres an entire police station out of anger just to get to Richter. It'll make it more impactful and shocking. The second movie I think Hotline Miami should take inspiration from is John Wick. Seems like kind of an obvious one, I know. John Wick is regarded as one of the best action franchises ever, mainly because the action in the movies is so extremely well made, believable looking, and smooth as fuck. There's no shaky camera, you get to see every satisfying punch and bullet land. I think they should take inspiration from the action of John Wick, then just add like an insane amount of gore to it, since that is the signature style of the Hotline Miami games. I want to see invincible level violence in this movie. Also, fun fact, in John Wick Chapter 4, there is a scene that is literally inspired by Hotline Miami. Well, sorta. It shows John Wick clearing an entire building with a Dragon's Breath shotgun, and the entire time the camera is a pan down view showing everything. The director said the scene was inspired by a game called Hong Kong Massacre, which is literally a rip-off of Hotline Miami. So, close enough. The third and final movie I think Hotline Miami should take inspiration from is Donnie Darko. A big part of the first game that I have purposely left out until now is that everything we see up until Jacket wakes up from a coma is all in his head while he's in the coma. So while he's trying to remember what happened to him up until that point, he keeps having nightmares of several things. One common nightmare is that he sees his army mate Beard in different locations giving him different items, but all saying the same thing.
No need to thank me, kid. It's on the house. You would have done the same for me, right?
The reasoning for this is explained in Hotline Miami 2, where we see Jacket suffer a brutal injury in war, and Beard saves his life, with that being the last thing he says to Jacket. In the first game, every time he sees a nightmare / hallucination of Beard, it gets more and more violent. He starts seeing dead bodies in the background. At one point, he sees Beard killed by a Russian. Now, I'm not totally sure if there would be time to include these bits into a movie, especially considering it might confuse general movie-going audiences. The other hallucination / nightmare absolutely has to be in the movie. Throughout the game, Jacket is visited by 3 people in animal masks, a girl with a horse mask, a guy with an owl mask, and most importantly, a man named Richard with a rooster mask. All 3 of these characters represent something. The woman is basically a manifestation of his girlfriend. She often tells Jacket to get some rest, see a doctor, and not push himself too far.
If you're not feeling well, maybe you should rest. Some things work out best when you don't try so hard.
Her name is apparently Don Juan, which is really funny, although I think it's just the name of her mask, not actually her. The guy in the owl mask is a manifestation of the Russians that Jacket killed. He treats Jacket with hostility and anger, telling Jacket things like,
"Why did you come back here? You're not a nice person, are you? You make me sick."
I believe the man in the owl mask represents how Jacket is disgusted at himself for becoming a monster. His name is Rasmus, but once again, I think that's just the name of his owl mask. And finally, we have Richard, who seems to be a manifestation of Jacket himself, sporting the same Letterman coat that Jacket wears. Richard seems to represent a few things, specifically acceptance and truth. Richard is there to help Jacket remember what happened before his coma by asking Jacket 4 specific questions.
Before you go, here's 4 questions to ponder. Question number 1. Do you like hurting other people? Question number 2. Who are leaving messages on your answering machine? Question number 3. Where are you right now? And the final question, why are we having this conversation?
Although I do like Richard's role in the second game more than the first one, because he basically becomes the Grim Reaper, visiting characters in their dreams, trying to warn them of their imminent death. Going back to movie inspirations, I said Donnie Darko for this part because the whole plot of that movie is a troubled kid who's schizophrenic, and he often sees a man in a bunny suit named Frank who's almost the exact same as Richard, in the way that Frank is also the harbinger of death. Frank tells Donnie when the world is going to end at the beginning of the movie, and Donnie doesn't believe him until the end, where he tries to prevent it from happening. Peak movie. Recommend. I think the way Donnie sees Frank throughout the movie and how he gets more intense and chaotic is exactly what the movie should do for Jacket when he sees the three people, but specifically Richard. Every time he sees Richard, the nightmare should get more intense. More lightning and rain, more flashing lights, more loud noises and screaming, with the characters getting more aggressive with Jacket, and having the worst nightmare out of all of them be the one that wakes him up from his coma. I think that pretty much covers the entire main points, as well as some of the fewer, smaller ideas for my hypothetical movie. Now for fan casting. I think there's an obvious pick for each of the main characters. Tom Holland as Jacket, The Rock as Richter, Chris Pratt as Biker, Zendaya as Jacket's girlfriend, and most importantly, Jack Black as Beard. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'd kill myself if that was the cast. I'm honestly pretty bad at fan cast. I think I would want every character to be played by a no-name actor anyways. Let me know if you guys have any fan castings or someone you would actually want to direct the movie, because that could be an interesting conversation as well. With that being said, let me know what you guys think of my idea, and feel free to leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comments. I was gonna have a whole section in this video talking about Hotline Miami 2, but then the video would be like an hour long, and I don't feel like putting myself through that much pain and suffering. I guess if this does well, I'll just do another one on the second game. Thanks for watching.